Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the history of an object that has literally survived empires. We are tracking a 700-year epic journey of what is arguably the most famous piece of jewelry in human history. It's a story packed with unimaginable wealth, intense betrayal, and a lingering mystery that still totally captivates the world today.
It really brings up a massive, provocative question. Why has a single rock caused dynasties to collapse, triggered brutal assassinations, and sparked multinational, global disputes? I mean, it seems completely paradoxical, right? That a beautiful, sparkling gem could carry such a dark, chaotic history? Some historians will tell you it's simply a matter of extreme human greed, that unimaginable wealth just naturally attracts violence. But others, folks steeped in centuries of folklore, swear it's a deadly, inescapable curse. Well, let's unpack exactly how this all started.
Part 1. Birth of the Cursed Diamond.
Alright, so to really grasp the sheer scale of this story, we've got to go all the way back to roughly the year 1306. We're in the rich, diamond-producing Golconda region of India, under the rule of the Kakatiya dynasty. Picture a stone weighing an astonishing 793 carats. That was this diamond's staggering original weight when it was first pulled from the earth. To put that massive number into perspective, it weighed over 158 grams of pure, exceptionally clear diamond. The locals discovered it using an ancient technique called placer mining. That basically meant laboriously sifting through alluvial river deposits with bamboo sieves until they uncovered this unprecedented towering crystal.
So what on earth do you do with a stone of that sheer godlike magnitude? Well, the Kakatiya rulers decided to dedicate it to their deity. They placed it directly into the left eye of goddess Bhadrakali in their capital's grand temple. But almost immediately, a chilling legend was born. According to a lost 1306 Hindu text, a belief spread like wildfire throughout the region that the stone would bring utter ruin to any male owner. The prophecy was actually remarkably specific. It warned that he who owned the diamond would own the world, but would also know all its misfortunes, and that it could only be safely worn by God or by a woman.
Part 2. Empires Rise and Fall. And you know what? Unfortunately for the men who sought to possess it, that dark legend actually seemed to become an immediate reality. When the powerful Delhi Sultanate under Alauddin Khilji invaded and looted the Kakatiya Empire, they took the diamond as a prize. And almost like clockwork, Khilji's own dynasty soon suffered a rapid, cursed collapse through a series of vicious assassinations and betrayals. The diamond just kept bouncing through the bloody hands of doomed rulers until it entered the mighty Mughal Empire. Its founder, Emperor Babur, was absolutely mesmerized by the stone. He famously declared it was worth half the daily expense of the whole world. At this point, people just called it the Babur diamond, and its prestige was totally unmatched across the globe.
But then, and this is wild, we hit a major tragedy of craftsmanship. What happened to our 793-carat giant? Well, the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan hired a renowned diamond cutter named Hortensio Borgio and tasked him with making the stone even more brilliant by cutting away its natural flaws. Borgio, however, completely botched the job. He devastatingly shrunk the stone down to just 280 carats. It was a massive, irreplaceable loss of material. A furious Shah Jahan heavily fined the cutter for his incompetence and placed the newly shrunken gem straight into his legendary, wildly expensive peacock throne, where it sat as a symbol of absolute power. So for centuries, it was just the Babur diamond, but eventually, the Persian conqueror Nader Shah invades India and defeats the Mughals. He loots the royal treasury, but he can't find this legendary diamond anywhere. Soon, he realizes the defeated emperor had secretly hidden the stone inside his turban, so he pulls his incredibly clever diplomatic move. Nader Shah proposes an exchange of turbans as a symbol of newfound friendship. The Mughal emperor is trapped. He can't refuse without sparking another war. So as they swap, this magnificent gem tumbles out of the unspooled fabric, catches the light, and Nader Shah gasps, shouting Koh-i-Noor, which translates to Mountain of Light. And boom, the new name stuck forever.
From there, the curse seemingly threw the diamond into a massive geopolitical game of hot potato. It traveled violently across borders. It goes to Persia in 1544, back to India in 1547, and then Nadir Shah actually takes it back to Persia in 1738. But in true cursed fashion, Nadir Shah is soon assassinated by his own guards. His empire immediately crumbles into chaos, and the stone is smuggled away. By 1803, it's seized by the Afghan royal family. The pattern here was undeniable, brutal, and consistent. Whoever violently took the Mountain of Light soon faced absolute fatal ruin.
Part 3. The Sikh Empire Era.
Okay, fast forward to the early 19th century. The diamond crosses borders once again and returns to India. The Afghan ruler Shah Shuja was imprisoned, and his desperate wife Wafa Begum approached the powerful Sikh Maharaja Ranjit Singh for military help. When she was describing the stone to try and secure his aid, she claimed that if strong men threw stones in 4 directions and straight up into the sky, and you filled that entire massive space with pure gold, it still wouldn't equal the value of the Koh-i-Noor. It worked. She successfully traded the priceless stone to Ranjit Singh in exchange for her husband's rescue.
Ranjit Singh absolutely loved the diamond. He wore it proudly right on his arm for everyone to see, and he actually managed to hold on to his empire while he lived. But upon his death in 1839, the curse seemingly woke up with a terrifying vengeance. The succession crisis that followed was horrific and incredibly swift. His immediate successor, Karak Singh, was poisoned. The very next in line, Na Nihal Singh, was fatally crushed by a falling stone gate on his way back from his father's cremation. The next, Sher Singh, was brutally assassinated. In just a few short years, the mighty Sikh empire practically disintegrated from within, totally consumed by betrayal and bloodshed.
Part 4. Taken by the British Crown.
So by 1845, the Sikh Empire is severely weakened and reeling from all this internal chaos. The British East India Company forces saw a golden opportunity and moved right in. They placed the Queen Mother under house arrest, which effectively gave them complete military and political control of the Punjab region. That left the remnants of the empire entirely in the hands of a 7-year-old boy, Maharaja Dalip Singh. Under immense pressure and isolated from his mother, the child king was made to sign the Treaty of Lahore. And Article 3 of this treaty explicitly and legally required him to surrender the Koh-i-Noor directly to Queen Victoria.
But wait, remember that curse from 1306? Well, the exact moment the diamond was loaded onto the British ship, the HMS Medea, for its journey to London, a deadly cholera outbreak struck the crew, nearly wiping them all out. On the actual day the diamond arrived in England, the British Prime Minister, Robert Peel, was trampled to death by a horse. And shortly after that, Queen Victoria herself was violently attacked by a man wielding an iron rod. The British public was absolutely terrified by these events. The myth of the cursed diamond quickly became front-page news across the entire country. Despite all those terrifying omens, the Queen kept the stone. However, she was pretty openly unhappy with its lack of brilliance. The previous cuts had left it looking kinda dull under modern lighting. So she had the stone completely recut by the royal jeweler to improve its shape and light refraction. This further shrunk our once massive 793-carat giant down to just over 105 carats. And to try and dodge that deadly curse that historically struck down male rulers, she decreed that from then on, only female members of the royal family were ever allowed to wear the Koh-i-Noor.
Part 5. The Global Ownership Dispute.
And that specific royal tradition of female-only wear, that carries on in the UK even today. However, the physical violence of the past has now transformed into a massive multi-nation legal battle because the diamond has lived such a chaotic, nomadic history. Pinning down its true, rightful owner is incredibly complex. Today, 4 separate nations are actively claiming it. India demands it back as stolen cultural heritage. Pakistan claims it because Lahore was the functioning capital of the Sikh Empire when the stone was taken. The Taliban in Afghanistan claims it as a relic of the Durrani Empire, and Iran points straight back to the Persian conquest of Nadir Shah. The most vocal and prominent clash, for sure, is between India and the UK. Indian MPs and citizens passionately argue the stone is a glaring symbol of colonial loot, taken forcibly from a young boy, and remains a vital piece of their historical and cultural heritage. On the flip side, the British defense firmly states the diamond was legally acquired through a formally signed international treaty. Furthermore, they argue that retroactively returning spoils of war could open the floodgates, establishing a precedent that would practically empty Western museums of their historic artifacts. Now, from a strict legal standpoint, India actually faces very specific roadblocks in their fight for repatriation. International treaties like the Antiquities Act of 1972 or the UNESCO Convention are definitely powerful tools for returning stolen artifacts, but their strict legal limitation is that they only apply to items moved post-1972 and post-1970, respectively. These modern international laws simply do not retroactively apply to a 19th century colonial treaty, so as a result, the legal battle is effectively stalled, keeping the diamond secured in London.
But the modern myth of the curse still strongly lingers in the public imagination. Commentators and historians often point out the stark contrast in British history since acquiring the stone. I mean, they went from an unmatched global empire where the sun never sets, slowly shrinking back down to a small island nation. And with recent royal health crises like King Charles's illness occurring shortly after technically inheriting the diamond's ownership line, superstitious writers are incredibly quick to remind us of that ancient 1306 prophecy.
Which leaves us right here, at the end of our amazing, shrinking protagonist journey. Is the Koh-i-Noor a cursed, tragic relic of colonial overreach, or is it a legally acquired historical spoil of war? When a stone has been washed in the blood of so many empires, crossed so many borders, and survived 7 centuries of utter chaos, who truly owns the Mountain of Light today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the history around you.